Hello. Today we read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. We begin to read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yesterday we started True Love as well by Thich So we're reading both of these, and we're going to be reading both of them for the next, I would say, couple of weeks. Until probably March. So today we start Think and Grow Rich. The reason I chose these two books is because one is still in the vein of what I know at least spiritually the most, Buddhism. But there's also a lot we can get from something like Think and Grow Rich, which is essentially secular, I think is the word, or non-secular, whichever word means non-religious. Even though this has a lot of believing in yourself and spiritual kind of wordings, it's a more of a secular book. Let me just check. Secular, I think, is the one that means non-religious, so define secular. Not connected with religious or spiritual matters. So I guess it's not completely non-secular because it does have that spiritual element. But either way, we're going to jump right into it. Think and Grow Rich, which I believe begins with a preface from the publisher, which I think we will read because it's only about a page. Think and Grow Rich is one of the most influential books of all time, pointing the way to personal achievement. It's a very self-help book, which is why I say it's still kind of more secular. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's more of a worldly book. It's going to help us achieve things within this world. It's not necessarily a religious book in that, or a spiritual book in that it's serving that higher purpose. But this teaches us how to the way to personal achievement, as it's just said, to financial independence and to riches of the spirit beyond measurement in money. There has never been another book like it, nor ever can be. I don't know about that. Inspired by Andrew Carnegie, who disclosed his formula of personal achievement to the author, Napoleon Hill many years ago. Inspired by Andrew Carnegie's disclosure to Napoleon Hill, the author of this book. Carnegie had not only made himself a multimillionaire, but he had made millionaires of more than a score of men to whom he taught his secret. Another 500 wealthy men revealed the source of their riches to Napoleon Hill, who has spent a lifetime of research in bringing their message to people in all walks of life, who are willing to give their thoughts, ideas, and organized plans in return for riches. And remember, riches both of this world and of the spirit, beyond measure in money. Thousands of persons have applied the famous philosophy of this book for their own enrichment. Its secrets are as timeless and as practical when the first edition was published. And in this latest edition, the philosophies and formulas which lead to success are made available to all who greatly desire to attain the rich spiritual satisfaction that achievement brings. Think and Grow Rich is preeminently a what to do and how to do it book. In it you will find the magic of self-direction, organized planning, auto-suggestion, mastermind association, an amazingly revealing system of self-analysis, detailed plans for selling personal services, and a wealth of other specific help from the experience of the great who have proven their value in the past. The riches are within your grasp, and they cannot always be measured in money. There are many great riches in lasting friendships, harmonious family relations, sympathy, and understanding between business associates, and inner harmony, which brings peace of mind, measurable only in spiritual values. The philosophy of Think and Grow Rich will prepare you to attract and enjoy these higher estates, which always have been and always will be denied to all except those who are ready for them. Let me read that again. The philosophy of this book will prepare you to attract and enjoy these higher estates. The philosophy of all these books I'm reading to you will prepare you for that which has always been and will always be denied to all except those who are willing and ready for them. Be prepared when you begin to put the philosophy of Think and Grow Rich into action. For a changed life will not only ease the trials and stresses of living, but will also prepare you for the accumulation of riches in abundance. That's the preface, I guess, giving you a little taste of what how the publishers kind of marketed this book. Self-help would be the best kind of obvious nowadays terminology I would use. Self-help, definitely. Think and Grow Rich. So let's actually jump into the first chapter, perhaps. Okay, we have a word from the author himself now, Napoleon. Napoleon is speaking in. Mr. Hill. Oops. Okay, this is a fair bit. Maybe we'll just read to you. Yeah, we'll jump into it. So this is a word from Napoleon Hill, the author. In every chapter of this book, mention has been made of a secret which has made fortunes for hundreds of exceedingly wealthy men, whom I have carefully analyzed over a long period of years. The secret brought to my attention by Andrew Carnegie more than half a century ago. The lovable old Scotsman carelessly tossed it into my mind when I was a small boy, then sat back in his chair with a merry twinkle in his eyes, watched carefully to see if I had brains enough to understand the full significance of what he said to me. When he saw that I had grasped the idea, he asked if I would be willing to spend 20 years or more preparing myself to take it to the world, to those who, without the secret, might go through life as failures. I said I would, and with Mr. Carnegie's cooperation, I have kept my promise. This book contains the secret, after having been put to a practical test by thousands of people in almost every walk of life. It was Mr. Carnegie's idea that the magic formula, which gave him a stupendous fortune, ought to be placed within the reach of people who did not have time to investigate how men made money. And it was his hope that I might test and demonstrate the soundness of the formula through the experience of men and women in every calling. He believed the formula should be taught in all public schools and colleges, and expressed the opinion that if it were properly taught, it would so revolutionize the entire educational system that the time spent in school could be reduced to less than half. In the chapter on faith, you will read the astounding story of the organization of the United States Steel Corporation, as it was conceived and carried out by one of the young men through whom Mr. Carnegie proved that his formula will work for all who are ready for it. The single application of the secret by Charles M. Schwab made such a huge fortune in both money and opportunity. Roughly speaking, this particular application of the formula was worth $600 million. I suppose that's some evaluation of the United Steel Corporation's worth. These facts, and they are facts, well known to almost everyone who knew Mr. Carnegie, give you a fair idea of what reading this book may bring to you, provided you know what it is that you want. The secret was passed on to thousands of men and women who have used it for their personal benefit, as Mr. Carnegie planned that they should. Some have made fortunes with it. Others have used it successfully in creating harmony in their homes. Arthur Nash, a Cincinnati tailor, used his near-bankrupt business as a guinea pig on which to test the formula. The business came to life and made a fortune for its owners. It is still thriving, even though Mr. Nash is gone. The secret was passed on to Stuart Austin Weir of Dallas, Texas. He was ready for it. So ready he gave up his profession and studied law. And did he succeed? This story is told too. While serving an advertising manager of the LaSalle Extension University, when it was a little more than a name, I had the privilege of seeing J.G. Chaplin president of the university used the formula so effectively that he made La Salle one of the great extension schools of the country. The secret to which I refer has been mentioned no fewer than 100 times throughout this book. It has not been directly named, for it seems to work more successfully when it is merely uncovered and left in sight. Where those who are ready are searching for it may pick it up. That is why Mr. Carnegie tossed it to me so quietly without giving me its specific name. If you are ready to put it to use, you will recognize this secret at least once in every chapter. I wish I might feel privileged to tell you how you will know if you are ready, but that would deprive you of much of the benefit you will receive when you make the discovery in your own way. If you have ever been discouraged, if you have had difficulties to surmount which took the very soul out of you, if you have tried and failed, and if you were ever handicapped by illness or physical affliction, the story of my son's discovery and use of the Carnegie formula may prove to be the oasis in the desert of lost hope for which you have been searching. The secret was extensively used by President Woodrow during World War I and passed on to every soldier who fought in the war, carefully wrapped in their training received before. A particular thing about this secret is that once one acquire and use it, they find themselves swept to success. I want to just take a moment here and say this is a lot of very hyped up writing. I don't like anything that hypes anything up too much. So just don't think there's going to be some secret in this book that you read a sentence and then all of a sudden success is just going to fly to you. But I think that obviousness will be revealed through reading of the book. But that being said, they're really hyping us up at the start so that we do get through the book, I think. And this kind of, it's about to say it. A peculiar thing, yeah. Oh wait, no, this is literally the next sentence. And this speaks to what I was saying. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Okay? We're not going to read a sentence and success be swept to us, because there's no such thing as something for nothing. The secret to which I refer can not be had without a price, although the price is far less than its value. It cannot be at any price by those who are not intentionally. It cannot be had at any price by those who are not intentionally searching for it. It cannot be given away. It cannot be purchased for money, for the reason that it comes in two parts. One part is already in possession of those who are ready for it. The secret serves all equally well who are ready for it. Education has little part with it. Long before I was born, the secret had found its way to the possession of Thomas Edison, and he used it so intelligently that he became the world's leading inventor, although he had but 3 months of schooling. The secret was passed on to Edwin C. Barnes, a business associate of Mr. Edison, and he used it so effectively that, although he was making only $12,000 a year, he accumulated a great fortune. You will find his story at the beginning of the first chapter. Recognition and happiness can be had by all who are ready and determined to have these blessings. But how do I know these things? You should have the answer before you finish this book. You may find it in the very first chapter or the last page. While I was performing the 20-year task of research, which I had undertaken at Mr. Carnegie's request, I analyzed hundreds of well-known men, many of whom admitted that they had accumulated their vast fortunes through the aid of the Carnegie secret. Among these men were, and there's a massive list, so I'm just going to show you in case you want to pause and actually see. Among these men were, and these names represent but a small fraction of the hundreds of well-known whose achievements, financial and otherwise, prove that those who understand and apply the Carnegie Secret reach high stations in life. I have never known anyone who was inspired to use the secret who did not achieve noteworthy success in their chosen calling. I have never known any person to distinguish himself or to accumulate riches of any consequence without possession of this secret. From those two facts, I draw the conclusion that the secret is more important as part of the knowledge essential for self-determination than any which one receives through what is popularly known as education. Let me read that sentence again. I draw the conclusion that the secret is more important as a part of the knowledge essential for self-determination than any which one receives through what is popularly known as education. What is education? This has also been answered in full detail. Somewhere as you read, the secret to which I refer will jump from the page and stand before you if you are ready to receive it. When it appears, you shall recognize it. Whether you receive the sign in the first or the last chapter, stop for a moment when it presents itself and turn down a glass, for that occasion will mark an important turning point in your life. Remember too, as you go through the book, that it deals with facts and not fiction. Its purpose being to convey a great universal truth through which all who are ready may learn what to do and how to do it. They will also receive the needed stimulus to make a start. As a final word of preparation, before you begin, may I offer one brief suggestion which may provide a clue by which the Carnegie Secret may be recognized. It is this: all achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. All achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. If you are ready for the secret, you already possess one half. Therefore, you will readily recognize the other half the moment it reaches your mind. That is Napoleon Hill's preface to the book. Or his word. So the chapters are longer than what we're used to. 15 pages rather than 3 or 4. So I'll start reading some of chapter 1 right now. And we'll just come to a point where we feel like that's enough for now. Chapter 1 is titled, Thoughts Are Things. And it's subtitled, The Man Who Thought His Way into Partnership with Thomas Edison. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. When they are mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into wealth or other material objects. Some years ago, I'm going to even read that first sentence again because it's important. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. When they are mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire. Some years ago, Edwin C. Barnes discovered how true it is that men really do think and grow rich. His discovery did not come about at one sitting. It came little by little, beginning with a burning desire to become a business associate of the great Edison. One of the chief characteristics of Barnes' desire was that it was definite. He wanted to work with Edison, not for him. Observe carefully carefully the description of how he went about translating his desire into reality, and you will have a better understanding of this principle which leads to riches. Or which, I would say, which leads to the fulfillment of your desire. Be careful with what you desire for as well. Desire with wisdom. When this desire or impulse of thought first flashes into his mind, he was in no position to act on it. Two difficulties stood in his way. He did not know Edison, and he did not have enough money to pay his railroad fare to Orange, New Jersey, Edison's home. These difficulties were sufficient to have discouraged the majority of men from making any attempt to carry out desire, but his was no ordinary desire. The inventor and the tramp. Barnes presented himself at Edison's laboratory and announced he had come to go into business with the inventor. In speaking of the first meeting between Barnes and Edison years later, Edison said, "He stood there before me, looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression on his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after." I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire fortune on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, then he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded. Subsequent events proved that no mistake was made. It could not have been the young man's appearance which had got him a start in the Edison office, for that was definitely against him. It was what he thought that counted. Barnes did not get his partnership with Edison in the first interview. He did get a chance to work with Edison in the Edison offices at a very nominal wage. Months went by. Apparently nothing happened to bring nearer the coveted goal which Barnes had set up in his mind and his definite major purpose. Definite major purpose we see in italics because we're going to return to that later in the book as a term we want to remember. We need a definite major purpose. But something important was happening in Barnes's mind. He was constantly intensifying his desire to become the business associate of Edison. Psychologists have correctly said that when one is truly ready for a thing, Psychologists have correctly said that when one is truly ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance. It puts in its appearance. Barnes was ready for a business association with Edison. Moreover, he was determined to remain ready until he got that which he was seeking. He did not say to himself, "Oh well, what's the use? I guess I'll change my mind and try for a salesman job." But he did say, "I came here to go into business with Edison, and I'll accomplish this end if it takes the remainder of my life." He meant it. What a different story men have to tell if only they would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming obsession. Maybe young Barnes did not know it all the time, but his bulldog determination, his persistence in standing back of a single desire, was destined to mow down all opposition and bring him the opportunity he was seeking. Just like this one was subtitled again, The Inventor and the Tramp, there are a lot of little chapter titles. So this one is Sly Disguises of Opportunity. Opportunity comes in sly disguises unless we're willing to see that sly disguise. We will never take that opportunity. When the opportunity came, it appeared in a different form and from a different direction than Barnes had ever expected. That is one of the tricks of opportunity. It has a sly habit of slipping in by the back door, and often it comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. That is brilliant. Remember that. Opportunity has a sly habit of slipping in by the back door, often coming in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps this is why so many fail to recognize opportunity. Perhaps, Napoleon. Mr. Edison had just perfected a new office device, known at the time as the Edison dictating machine. His salesmen were not enthusiastic over the machine. They did not believe it could be sold without great effort. Barnes saw his opportunity. It had crawled in quietly, hidden in a queer-looking machine which interested no one but Barnes and the inventor. Barnes knew he could sell the Edison dictating machine. He suggested this to Edison and promptly got his chance. He did sell the machine. In fact, he sold it so successfully that Edison gave him a contract to distribute and market it all over the nation. Out of that business association, Barnes made himself rich in money, but he did something infinitely greater. He proved that one really may think and grow rich. How much actual cash that original desire of Barnes was worth to him, I have no way of knowing. Perhaps it brought him $2 or $3 million, but the amount, whatever it is, becomes insignificant when it is compared with the greater asset he acquired in the form of definite knowledge that an intangible impulse of thought can be transmuted into reward by the application of known principles. Definite knowledge must be acquired that an intangible impulse, that of thought, can be transmuted into material phenomenal existence by the application of known principles. Principles we will fly through in this book. Barnes literally thought himself into a partnership with great Edison. He thought himself into a fortune. He had nothing to start with except the capacity to know what he wanted, and the determination to stand by that desire until it was realized. I'm enjoying this. Let's keep going. So that seems to be the end of Barnes and Edison's little side story. But this, I'm pretty sure, is I remember this one. This is a great one. This is subtitled 3 Feet from Gold. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Every person is guilty of this mistake at one time or another. An uncle of R.U. Darby was caught by the gold fever in the gold rush days and went to dig and grow rich. He had never heard that more gold has been mined from the thoughts of men than has ever been taken from the earth. He staked a claim and went off to work with the pick and the shovel. After weeks of labor, he was rewarded by the discovery of the shining ore. He needed machinery to bring the ore to the surface. Quietly, he covered up the mine, retraced his footsteps to home in Williamsburg, Maryland, and told his relatives and a few neighbors of the strike. They got together the money for the needed machinery and had it shipped. The uncle and Darby went back to work at the mine. The first car of ore was mined and shipped to the smelter. The returns proved they had one of the richest mines in Colorado. A few more cars of that ore would clear the debts. Then came the big killing profits. Down went the drills. Up went the hopes of Darby and Uncle. Then something happened. The vein of gold ore disappeared. They'd come to the end of the rainbow, and the pot of gold was no longer there. They drilled on, desperately trying to pick up the vein again. All to no avail. Finally, they decided to quit. They sold the machinery to a junk man for a few $100s and took the train back home. The junk man called in a mining engineer to look at the mine and do a little calculating. The engineer advised that the project had failed because the owners were not familiar with fault lines. His calculations showed that the vein would be just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. And that is exactly where it was found. The junk man took millions of dollars in ore from the mine because he knew enough to seek expert counsel before giving up. Oh. We should all seek expert counsel before giving up on life. Before giving up on anything. Seek counsel. Speak with the family. We have a family here. Speak with each other. Get that expert counsel while we're here in existence and can talk to each other. Because that will allow us along the path to think and grow rich. Okay, I think we're going to end it there because that's a nice little short story and it, yeah. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Part 1. Thoughts are things. I'm going to read just the end of fucking that last chapter to you because I want to end this on a high. All achievement have their beginning in an idea. This is the one. We must form the definite knowledge that an intangible impulse of thought, something we can't grasp, something that can just be in our head and only we know it, that can be transmuted into material existence, into this plane in which everyone can see it. That which only you can see right now. You can make the world see if you are so determined to do so. And if you make that your primary goal, your definite major purpose, as we refer to it in this book. Think and Grow Rich, my family. Thank you, my siblings, brothers and sisters, and all in between. I love you so much. See you next time.